And Deniskya, I feel like he's a player who comes out of the darkness and brings a lot of surprises a lot of the time. And yeah, I think he's going to have a pretty good day. I don't know much about JIF Music, though. Do you know anything about our player here?
Yeah, JIF Music, he's someone that I want to say like really improved within the last 1 or 2 seasons, and at the moment I want to say like he is solidly positioned within the top. I don't even want to say 50. I want to say I want to say I can put him in the top 30 easily in the back of my mind, because he has incredible performance time and time again on the ladder, and he hasn't really found great success in tournaments yet, just mainly because in tournaments you need a much larger civilization pool. But I think throughout the last month or two, he did manage to expand his civilization pool considerably. And now, I mean, we've already seen him just perform excellently yesterday, and I'm sure today is going to be no different. But he's up against a tough opponent. Deniskya also very strong. We see him stream all the time as well. He's up there on the ladder, grinding it out. And yeah, JIF Music versus Deniskya, that's definitely an exciting one to look at. And we're going to start off here on Dry Arabia with the Malians for JIF Music up against the Japanese from Deniskya. And well, Japanese, like Japan just in general, they have like really gained in popularity recently, not just on water maps where they already were popular on, but also on land maps.
And what I love about Japan right now is there's no straight path for these guys. You get to do a whole shenanigan of things. The one moment you're like, oh, remember the days when we had those mounted samurais just running into our bases, fast castle at the speed of light? Now, that's changed. It can be anything. We've seen Bugattis drive straight into your base after a mounted samurai situation. We've seen them just absolutely dominating in so many different ways. And I think that's why Japan is so popular right now, because a lot of the time when you play a civilization, you're kind of forced to play the one play style that is the best. But Malians also has two ways to go these days. So I feel like both of these, they are civilizations that we can see anything out of. And honestly, I'm here for it. I do want to see more Farimba because I've tried it myself and I have not been successful. So the more I see it, the more I get exposed. I'm hoping the skill gets absorbed through osmosis or something. But Japan, on the other hand, I feel like Deniskya definitely got the card. He's holding the cards for this one because Malians is so susceptible to that early game aggression. You don't give them a time to breathe.
Yeah, and Japan recently, more often than not, they will open up with the Dark Age barracks, whether it be to harass a little bit on those pit mines or whether it is to just lure in those deer early on. You just have a lot of use for those spearmen anyways, and the barracks you gonna want eventually anyways, because you're Japan, you're gonna want to have that melee mosh pit, the Onabugeisha, the Spearman, the Samurai. At some point along the line, you're gonna want to add at least a couple of those units. So just getting that barracks in at the early game doesn't really like influence you that much. It's also very cheap, only 75 wood at the moment for Japan to build that early barracks. Very efficient. I just want to give a quick shout out to JIF Music, because I just learned, well, actually, I learned 2 times how old he is. Yesterday, I got some fake information, some misinformation from Kyle. He told me JIF Music is 50 years old. Now I heard he's just turned 18. So once again, we got like some very young players trying out Age of Empires 4, getting into the competitive scene. And honestly, like I'm here for it. Just the game overall being popular with like younger fellas as well. Like we got Louis MT, who's also very young. You got JIF Music now, who's just 18. Other like really high quality players. We got Gully Deckle,
MSN,
we got
as
Dragon
well.
Van, Amazon, yeah, some really young players. And you know, typically RTS, it's like sort of the boomer type game, but apparently also very popular with the younger folks. So definitely something to look out for. If the boomers don't want to get overtaken by the young folks here, they're gonna have to give it their all. And yeah, I mean, game, just 1 minute left on the clock until we're able to start. You talked about the Farimba play, Whammon. I think that is something that probably fits JIF's playstyle quite nicely. As JIF Music, I play against him a couple of times on ladder, like every now and then when I do actually manage to boot up the game without disconnecting immediately. I do manage to get a game in here and there, and whenever I play against him, usually it's like this infantry mosh pit that he goes for, like just big infantry masses, and that's certainly something that Malians can accommodate here. Gonna be interesting to see how that holds up against Japan, though, because they similarly love to add in those infantry mosh pits, just mass on a Geisha. Yumi archers recently also on the menu, and those high value mounted samurai, man, when you see those guys charging in, there's really nothing that you want to have in their way.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the one to watch, but ladies and gentlemen, it looks like our countdown is ready. Well.
And here we go, game number 1 in the EGC Masters Summer. Last day of the qualifiers here, and we're watching Deniskya playing as the Japanese in the color blue up against JIF Music in the color red, playing as the Malians here on Dry Arabia.
And it feels like we're already getting to see that Japan card we talked about. One of the cards is the barracks he whips out pretty early on. And we'll see if that's going to be simply a little bit of pressure to try and deny some of these houses, or if it's just going to be to get that very close gear pack across his base. JIF Music here going for the standard opening too. We'll see if he's going to be surprised. Now the scout, definitely, I don't know if he actually saw that, but both of them scouting quite aggressively to see what the shenanigans is. It does look like he may have slipped a little peek there, and let's see if he reacts accordingly. Now, Karagadi, this is my question to you as well. What happens in the scenario? Oh, I was going to say what happens in the scenario if you spot it, but I think we have our answer here. Only 4 houses and a barrack.
Yeah, JIF Music, he knows what is going on right now. He did spot that barracks out, so he's going to go for his own barracks here, not opting for the additional 2 houses. And Deniskya, it looks like he is very comfortable with just sticking it out in Dark Age for quite a long time here, as we do see him also grab Tawara, so an additional 50 gold invested there just to get that little bit more efficient gold gathering in as well. Not gold gathering, I'm sorry, the food gathering here from the berries, so doesn't even need to touch his sheep there early on at all. Kind of gives him like a little bit of that, I want to say, you also get like the sort of House of Lancaster effect there, where the House of Lancaster gather very quickly from their sheep, so Dark Age play is very efficient for them. And the Japanese in this situation definitely able to somewhat mirror that. We do get the barracks out now, and this is where it starts to get really tough, because you're not up against a normal spearman army here. JIF Music with the Malians, he's going to have access to the Donzo. Does cost a little bit more wood to produce, but they are able to throw their spear with a range attack, and theoretically, if you just get 3-4 of them out, you can just put them on stand ground, and whenever that javelin throw comes off cooldown, they'll just automatically throw it at the closest target.
Now, that does have that little bit of a cooldown, and as we can see, JIF got it started a bit later. So now with the villager accompanying them, we know what's about to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be seeing a nice little tower rush. This guy is no stranger to putting down pressure. And JIF now, we'll see if he's going to be able to respond to this. With that singular little Donzo, he does get a hit off, but now he just has to wait for it to be ready again. And the problem is there's already 4 spears on the field for this. So this is going to be a hard one to push back. He is aware of this, scouting that villager. He knows what's about to happen. So he will definitely be investing a little bit more into trying to stop this. We see another hit going off towards the spearman, but now they just have to wait their turn to throw another one.
The issue here, though, at the end of the day, is that outpost building speed has been nerfed numerous times in the past. At the moment, it takes a whole minute in order to get that outpost up, and we see it time and time again. Those Donzos, they are throwing their javelins out, and it's starting to get to the point where a significant amount of damage has already been done to those spearmen in a one-on-one engagement. They will now no longer fare too well here in JIF Music. He's not too far behind in numbers, and he does have the defender's advantage. Now he's going to realize, okay, now I've got enough units out here. Now I can start pushing out, and he knows there's a villager nearby, and he wants to look for a Deniskya, though. Holding the villager back early is going to be able to deny that knowledge of where that villager went off to. But Whammon, I am not too sure about whether Deniskya can really back this Dark Age play up at the moment.
It feels like he's trying to get a little bit of trading done here his way, and now with JIF expanding a little bit too far, or moving too far forward, he should be able to snipe that villager if he does get these on cooldown, but a spearman will be the first victim instead. He does send the boy a little bit deep, but it does look like one of these spearmen for JIF Music he's going to survive, actually. Oh my goodness, Crackety, the micro is insane. But
yeah,
it does look like...
That's the like main takeaway from the Donzos. Having +1 additional melee armor here means that they are able to survive that one crucial last hit that was needed there in order to take them down. Meaning that at the end, like JIF Music, he's able to retain a significant amount of Donzos, and as long as he just keeps them back, they're always going to be able to still throw at their spears. And look at that. Another spearman just getting impaled there by the Donzo spear throw. Deniskya, he's doubling down. He is so doubling down. We're now seeing Samurai in queue as well.
And getting a Samurai into the mix is definitely going to help the situation. The problem is just that Samurai is very far away, and these Donzos are taking a pretty decent fight. He still has 7 spearmen, but not all of them are here. And it looks like they have a new victim, guys. The villager is now under siege, and those spears, they do fly. So that poor villager will most likely die.
Yeah, Tawara in though for Japanese, so the villager is going to be a little bit quicker than he would usually be, but it's not enough. 1.2 to 1.25 tiles per second movement speed, that villager will go down. So now Deniskya, he no longer really has any business sticking around in Dark Age, and we do see him now move out onto his own gold vein. Behind this though, like, the thing is, JIF Music, the longer he stays in Dark Age, the better it is for him, because at the end of the day, this entire time, he's had a pit mine generating gold for him, so he's going to be going up now to Feudal Age with already like 300, maybe even 400 gold in the bank by the time he reaches it.
And getting that amount of gold is going to give him so many more options, yet again, because then you are just in such a good position to decide, hey, do I want to stay in feudal? Do I want upgrades? It's going to give him all the time he needs to actually control the pace of the game. We see him now still making Donzos in all of this. Deniskya, though, he has slowed down, but now with that Synchronous Samurai, this does become a lot harder of a fight for JIF Music. Now he does pull back, and he looks like he is going to be able to get most of his spears out here alive, and with 3 more in the queue, he probably doesn't mind that either. Now he is going to hit Feudal Age a little bit earlier, which means these guys are going to get their upgrades pretty quickly as well. Now these houses do become quite expensive for Malians usually, because you pretty much early on in the game you struggle for wood, but he's got the wood set up. He's probably a pretty happy camper, and they get another sniper shot off, and almost another one after that as well.
Yeah, it looks like Deniskya is just content burning a couple of these houses here at the moment, the mud houses I like to call them. Honestly, I'm a little bit surprised just looking at his wood bank, because he's now aging up with the Cornerstone house. He's already got almost 450 wood in the bank. I'm not exactly sure. It looks like there was a little bit of mismacroing going on there behind that. JIF Music now following up here. He's going to be able to take down these spearmen, as I believe he already has the Ardent upgrade on his spearmen, so they're going to be significantly stronger here in these engagements, and Deniskya already was low on unit mass, so this is just a lead that JIF Music is now able to continuously build on, just already having that superior unit mass. I'm wondering, at this point in time, maybe the best option here for Deniskya would be to just go into Yumi Archers, which he definitely can do, as he already has a pretty solid wood bank at this point in time. Also seeing the outposts now come up on the gold, so at least looks like he should be able to get a decent amount of gold income in without being interrupted there. Already the first couple of cattle, no cattle ranch yet, but JIF Music, with all the gold that he was able to gather up in Dark Age, that's going to be a nice boost to his economy very early on here.
That's going to be such a nice position to be in, just to ensure you can keep pumping out these units. Now, what I absolutely love here from JIF Music, he's moving out towards Deniskya. Deniskya realizes this, but at the same time he builds that tower. And usually that tower would signify, hey, I'm going fast castle, what are you going to do about it? However, this is not one of those situations. This feels like a tower that you have to make because your gold is going to get denied if you don't get it up there. With that amount of Donzos especially, they can just stand back and throw their sticks, and he respects this. But we do see the Yumis now in queue, and this is probably the best response he can make in this scenario. But I do feel a little worried for him, because now JIF Music is just cow booming. We can see there's cows coming left and right, and they are finding a nice little comfortable spot to go and generate food. But with the amount that he has in gold, I would not be surprised if we don't get a Farimba this game. Or maybe it's one of those crazy situations where you have the Farimba and you have your whole cow eco set up, and then the pumping never stops.
Yeah, second pit mine now also coming in, so JIF Music very much set up here. We can see he's already at almost 700 gold per minute here at this point in the game, so really easily able to just pump out a lot of these cattle now at this point in time. Deniskya, he's pumping out a lot of the Yumi Archers, but it's an interesting dynamic, Whammon, when it comes to Javelin Throwers and Yumi Archers, or in general Archers. there is this point, like in a feudal age, where archers, they start trading out really poorly up against the javelin throwers, but then when you get up to really large unit mass, they start to scale out even better and better. And in Castle Age, because of the way the upgrades work, because you're able to get +2 damage in from the Veterancy upgrade on the archers, and Veterancy on javelin throwers only gives you +1 pierce armor, suddenly in Castle Age, a big ball of archers trades a lot better against javelin throwers than they did in Feudal Age.
And it does look like that is exactly what he has in mind, right? He's getting that +1 upgrade, and this is just going to make it so much harder to be out here on the map. So JIF Music did spawn here with the forward gold, which means he is going to, or the second one at least, he's definitely going to struggle getting this thing up. But it does feel like Deniskya is on a ticking time clock, right? Because he knows he needs to get damage done now, especially considering that JIF got ahead with all that gold he was passively generating the whole time and getting that one extra villager from the get-go. Now, we do see he's already got 10 cows in their ranches and soon 11 cows in the ranches, and that's just going to mean that this is going to skyrocket. We now see them having pretty equal food per minute, but as we know, that's going to mean a lot less villager investment on that compared to it from Japan. But now it does look like he wants to make a move here. He knows that this is a very, very sticky situation to not get damage done. The Samurai, though, he can tank quite a bit of these.
Yeah, he's not really getting actively hit by the javelin throws because they know they want to be hitting on the Yumi archers here, not on the Samurai. And JIF Music, he's got to be really cautious here when it comes to which unit he really wants to engage on. We're seeing a stable now getting added in. Looks like JIF, he was actually just thinking about potentially going for an age-up play in this situation. Does think about now, we're seeing a stables getting added in as well, more javelin throwers getting queued up. Honestly, at the moment, with the current army composition, Sofas could be quite good here for him, as they have been buffed up recently as well. They now do a significant amount of bonus damage compared to previously. They got a little bit more HP, I believe, and their base damage got buffed a bit as well. So at the moment, Sofas in Feudal Age, actually not too bad here.
I can imagine that Sofas are going to be a pretty good way to deal with those Yumis, but with the amount of Bugattis here, I do think that this is something that a lot of players have not had enough experience with, understanding exactly how these trade out, especially when the numbers get pretty large. And from the amount of barracks I saw in his base, this feels like it could be a pretty large amount, and javelin throwers just don't cope with him that well. He's perfectly target firing those Yumis though, and this does feel quite tough to handle. The villagers now having to pull back, but he's not going to be starving. The Sofa now coming forward, he's going to be able to push these boys back, but the Yumis are going to be trying to kite backwards with the Bugattis just on their tails. We see a lot more coming in though, more in queue, and Deniskya seems like he's going to be pretty happy here in the Feudal Age with this type of aggression. JIF Music though, we see him out here on the deer as well, a lot of investment there on the gold too. So we'll see what the food sources look like for both of these players, because this front gold's getting shut down. We just don't know what the investment is going to look like here for JIF, but it does look like archers are being added, and archers being a very nice answer to this is going to be wonderful, especially when you get into the later stages of the game, if they can even get there.
Yeah, I like that JIF Music right now. He's realized, okay, what kind of situation he is in, and he's just starting to mass up as many units as possible. He knows that he's got the better passive income at the moment. He was able to invest into the cattle. Right now, it's all about just massing up and not dying anytime soon. The question is, how long can he survive now under this pressure, as we do see Deniskya also starting to add in a ram. Honorable Geisha will not hold up that great when they're paired up against the Sofa. Sofa actually also do bonus damage up against melee units, so they not only take a little bit less damage thanks to having two melee armor in the Feudal Age, but they will also deal a little bit of bonus damage. Food income at the moment looking really solid for Deniskya, but it is a very temporary food source here. He does have the bonus upgrade on the berries as well, so he's getting the full gather speed that he can with the Japanese here in Feudal Age. But it's only gonna last for such a long time, right? Like, he's already on his second last berry patch now at the moment. He is now gonna dive, wants to take that pit mine down. Javelin throws don't do any bonus damage to the Honorable Geisha. And oh, JIF Music, he has to be careful. He's gonna lose a couple of javelin throws, and these are relatively expensive losses here compared to the Honorable Geisha that he was able to take down. Yeah, Deniskya actually able to get a good amount of infrastructure damage here now at this point in time. Looking at the destruction value, it's fairly even. Army value also fairly even. But now, we do have the first raid coming out here from JIF, and he's looking for some villagers to snack on those berry patches.
And it does look like there's a secondary red dot coming from the top. I don't know if that's just going to be a scout, but he wants to attack from two sides. And this is definitely something we've seen in a lot of these games make a big difference. The moment they can overwhelm their opponent, but the Bugattis, Crackety, they're so fast. They're getting right on top of them so quickly. But now, those outside food sources are not going to be easy to snack on for too long. More raids there at the top, but the fight here, the Bugattis are slicing away, and they're slicing pretty well, but the Sofas, like you said, they just stack up so well against them. Musafari's in the mix as well now, and it does look like these boys are going to be quickly taken down. Now these archers running for their lives, and at the back, the Sofa is just eating everything he sees. Slice and dice, baby.
Yeah, multiple villagers did go down. Looks like reinforcements were able to deal with the Sofa harassing on the deer behind it all. Destruction value, honestly, at the end of the day here, Deniskya did manage to destroy more units than JIF was able to. The issue with that is Whammon, like we talked about, right? Like the cattle economy behind this, idle time forced as well. It all stacks up to just be a little bit more favorable at the end of the day here for JIF music. And yeah, I mean, at this point in time, 1,000 food per minute, that's very solid for the Malians here. And he's going to be able to get an additional 500 food per minute if he's just able to find that window into Castle Age now, which honestly, he's getting very close to be able to find that window, as he's already got like a fairly decent military size here, so pretty much able to match what Deniskya is doing. But you got to be so careful here, Wham, because Japanese, they just like to pump out so many units here. And if you're just a little bit too greedy, you can find yourself in a situation where you lose one fight because you get up greedy to the next age and you're not able to hold on. Another fight ensues now. We do have the Bannerman getting targeted first here.
It does look like these javelins are perfectly target firing the backline as they can, but every single time he moves, he has to shift click again and again and again. This is a very APM intensive fight, and it does look like he is doing some pretty good trades here, but the frontline samurais are doing a very good job at cleaning up these javelins. The problem with cleaning up those javelins is they're expensive, and he's going to struggle to replace those so quickly. The archers, though, doing some work, but the Yumis just feel like they're so much more cost-effective in the scenario. Now, only one Sofa here on the backline, and he's quickly getting picked off. We do see a Sofa there, red dot there on the western side, and he's most likely going to be sitting on some villagers too. Getting that idle time is so crucial in this, because you want your opponent to be able to be distracted, so you can actually get some damage done. Now the Yumis, they are retreating to safety, at least for now, but more archers being added for JIF.
Yeah. Wow, I gotta say, I'm a little bit flabbergasted at the moment here. Deniskya, he's been doing really well here with the Yumi archers, just getting so many out on the field. And as you said, like, he's trading out so much more efficiently here due to the lower cost time and time again. And now the samurai count is scaling so high. The expensive javelin throws now getting thrown away. JIF music, I'm not sure if he just didn't realize that they were left behind, but now it's only archers for him. Sure, he's getting some raids in every now and then, but there's a large army in front of his base. 2,000 to almost 4,000 in the military value at the moment. And Deniskya, it looks like he's getting ready in order to start diving the economy now from JIF. And yeah, JIF, this is going to be very difficult. He did the archer switch, but the archers, they're not that effective up against the Yumi archers. They're not that effective up against the samurai. And now Deniskya, he's in. He's going to start trying to find economy now to take down.
And that's the thing with those samurais, you just feel so much more confident actually taking a dive. The thing is, if he does not lose a lot of villagers here, this could be very good for JIF, but from the army numbers I can see, he is able to just target fire what he can, but the TC is not going to be enough. Deniskya is just doing so much damage to this. We see now even villager kills, and the Yumi archers are looking for more. But aside from all the idle going through, Deniskya is also able to get his economy still running. We do see a big blue blob moving there to the top, so I am assuming that this man is still under pressure. And JIF, even though he is he's getting pushed, he's trying to do a damage along the way. They do spot out that secondary pit mine though, and that's going to mean that the gold will not be coming in as easily for him too once this does get collapsed on. And it looks like the whole army will be rotating here, but now with these samurais, it just doesn't feel like JIF has anything in his arsenal that he can use to actually shut this down. Because yes, he's got farms, he's got a few things set up here at the back for himself, but even if he gets the Grand Fulaniku roll up, He needs time to have the units to take this down. Now, more sofas coming in, and they will be getting some victims.
Yeah, looks like he found the villagers there out on the board. No outpost to protect them. Deniskya, he has to go out on the map in order to gather up more and more resources as the ones in his base are starting to dry up. Does have the cursed stores for a nice farm transition. Reinforcements able to protect those villagers here. Some will still go down. And now the age up with the Grand Filani Corral. 20 cattle already in now at this point in time, so there's going to be a lot of food income now coming in. Still, 55 to 27 military units. The upgrades, Wowman, it's going to be all about the upgrades, but this is where Malians start like seeing a lot more civilization bonuses coming in here for them, as the veterancy upgrade for the Malians only costs half price and also come in twice as fast as they do for other civilizations. So getting that veterancy on the archers is not that expensive at all. Veterancy on the sofas now also coming in. Sure, it's not imported armor, but still, it's a very, very decent stat boost here. And I mean, at the end of the day, these units, the sofas, they're very food heavy, but food is something that he is going to have in abundance now, thanks to the cattle. And Deniskya, he knows what's going on. He knows that he now has to dive. He needs to win the game here now. But the veterancy on the archer is already in. They're going to trade so much more effectively against the samurai now. Deniskya, he's going to have to be really, really careful here.
It does feel so tough in this position for this guy because he is sitting here and he knows this is a ticking time bomb. He waited a few seconds, but that few seconds could maybe be the end of him. It does look like the army numbers are looking pretty good here for this guy still, and he's still making units. You guys can see he's not floating any resources thinking about castle himself. He's just trying to do damage right now. The thing is, the samurais are getting under the TC, and yes, they will be able to trade pretty effectively against the archers. But there's a huge blob of economy to the right that Deniskya can pretty much pick up quickly. The thing is, it doesn't look like he's rotating fully there, but we do see some alarm bells going off on every single side. Now Yumi's trying to get a few villagers, but
That's
even
a
if
lot.
he loses, that's a lot of villagers. But even if he loses a few here, Malians as a civilization, they usually don't mind sacrificing a few to get that cow economy up and booming. The problem is that was more than a few so far. And these samurais are not going down. The archers, even though there's a lot of them, and yes, they have their veterancy, they're still struggling.
Yeah, JIF has trouble when it comes to accessing gold at the moment, solely relying on the passive gold from one pit mine and his feudal age landmark. Now, most importantly, he did get the veterancy upgrade in on his archers, so they're actually able to take down the samurai with relative ease at this point in time. And behind this, as soon as he starts clearing out this military, as soon as he starts getting the gold excess, he's going to be able to start pumping out more and more of the sofa. Deniskya behind this now looks like he is going to be able to find his own age-up timing behind this now. But, whammon, villager count even at Malians with 20 cattle now at this point in the game. Sure, Floating Gate is a great landmark, but you can't really compare it to mass cattle economy with the Grand Filani Corral here at the moment. JIF Music, he's got great food income. He was idled out a ton, but he's got the more premium army composition at the moment with the sofa and the archers, both with veterancy status. Deniskya still in feudal age. He's gonna really have to brace himself here now for the timing from this next wave from JIF, and honestly, this is going to be incredibly tough. A lot of villagers from the farms are working right now, trying to get that floating gate up. But the standing army, it's just not there, Whammon.
It feels like he sacrificed so much trying to get those few villager kills that it is now going to show a very tough position here for Japan. Deniskya, though, he has a lot of resources in the bank, and he's hoping that those mounted samurais that he can possibly push out now will make a huge impact, because we see nothing in the queue until now. The moment he hits it, he does get the Yumi upgrade. More Yumis in queue, and the mounted samurais are up next. The problem is those sofas are chunky, and they're looking for a good fight, though. The DC will be hitting back, but it is not a lot of hits that will be spewed at the same time, and there's a lot of archers that can help in this too. So this is a very tough fight. He can clean up this army so quickly, and those mounted samurais, they will trade effectively, but the damage, I feel like, has been done. The majority of his army that he had left is already gone. And now those archers, you can see, they are just kiting and fighting.
Yeah, and behind this, the most important aspect probably is that Deniskya, he was very much reliant on the food resources out on the map. Now with the sofa, a mobile raiding unit out on the map, he can no longer safely gather up resources here. And we can see he had villagers at the bottom there, side there on the gold. He is going to have to pull all of those away now. But I think the forge is still there, so JIF Music, he's going to realize, okay, people were here. Where could they have gone?
And he doesn't look like someone who will just stand there and look at corpses. He does send units on every corner of the map. We can see he has a lot of red dots absolutely everywhere. He has presence on every side of the map, and even though the village is all the way on the other side now trying to gather gold, this is again a very scary dive. Yes, the TC should be able to help clean up most things here, but there are so many villages falling, 25 dead villagers now, and Deniskya, even though he looked okay for a while, it just doesn't look like he can clean this up, because behind this, you guys can see those straight lines of dots. They are coming to reinforce, and they are going to come and destroy more idle villagers and more dead ones. 29 now dead.
Deniskya, he just doesn't have any more active food gathering now at this point in time, and that means that the production, it's starting to stall out, only being able to create these very, very cheap Yumi archers, but Yumi archers are not going to be the unit that will save him here at the end. Can we take a look at these so far? Earlier they didn't have imported armor. I'm not sure if he's gotten it in between on JIF Music side. They still do not have imported armor, but once that comes in, the Yumi archers won't do any damage against them anymore whatsoever. They'll just tickle them. And yeah, I mean, JIF behind us still with the great food economy. He's got 10 times the food income at the moment that Deniskya has.
Oh, and that's such a tough spot to be in as Japan. You're used to having all those free farms. It's a very nice position, usually. But Malians, they have a new definition of a food economy, and most civilizations will not match up against that. And you can see now, this is going to be close to 50 archers soon enough on this map. So far, they are barely going to need to do any work. All they need to do is tank a little bit on the front, and they will be able to face tank that TC without breaking a sweat. But just like JIF Music fashion, he's sending a few sofas to go and find any stray villagers. The gold here, though, this is very unpredictable, I would say, but he knows those sofas need to find the boys that are gathering resources, because they are not coming out of thin air.
Yeah, JIF Music must realize that at this point, okay, my opponent, he's not on the gold here, he's not on the gold there. He is still making gold-heavy units, though, with the Mounted Samurai. Where is he getting the gold from? We do see just individual units here and there scouting around all the individual gold mines at the top. He has not yet scouted the one at the bottom, the large gold vein that Deniskya is actually on. We do see all the unique upgrades for the Malians also coming in now behind this, so we are getting imported armor in. That's going to be +2 melee armor and +2 ranged armor for the Sofa, meaning that they will take significantly less damage, not just from the Yumi archers, but also from the outpost fire, from the TC fire. Any garrisoned units there will not do as much damage to them anymore. But most importantly, we are getting poison arrows in now. At that point in time, once poison arrow hits, the archers from JIF Music, from the Malians, actually will be able to deal significant damage even to armored units. The armored units that are typically meant to counter out the archers, they will die. They will die very, very quickly. It's a lot of single target damage if you focus down with it. And yeah, it just stacks up so quickly. And the ticking damage can be tremendous. Like, you think, okay, maybe I'm able to pull back a weak unit just in time for that unit to survive, maybe heal it up later with a religious unit and it'll be good to go again. But no, the poison damage, that's typically a thing that's going to end up killing the unit. And with so many archers, that's going to be a lot of overkill, which you don't necessarily mind up against Mounted Samurai.
Now the problem is, there's not a lot of Mounted Samurais when we compare the two. This TC fires, but it doesn't fire hard enough to take down that front line. We see now the Mounted Samurais, they were not in position to actually tank for some of these. There are a few in the mix, and a few of them do go around, but just like you said, those poison arrows are going right through those Mounted Samurais. Look at them just melting on the sidelines, and these poor little Yumis, they are trying their best against the Sofas, but they take about 6 years to kill those guys. Now the Sofas at the back line, they're trying to take down the Mounted Samurais, and they do a pretty good job at that. Now the Rams cleaning up some of these farms, even though some of these were free farms, it's just going to cripple that economy even more, because you guys can see behind this 1,500 food per minute on the Malians, and on Deniskya's side, he is struggling. 400 food per minute now, with all those villagers being idle inside the TC. He's probably going to be looking at, what am I going to do for the next game?
Exactly, and GG comes in. JIF Music able to win game number 1 here on Dry Arabia. Looking at the economy stats, we can just tell, okay, yeah, that's Malian food economy right there. We can take a look at the bottom right graph. We do have that economy count where we do see just how many cattle have been added in. So it's a little bit hidden when you just look at the villager count, just how many villagers, how much effective economy Malian actually has. We will have to take a look at the cattle count there as well. And that just shows that, yeah, there was a significant advantage when it came to the economy here from JIF Music, and in the end also just able to kill so many villagers, cause so much idle time there, pulling ahead in the economy. It looked dicey for him, I want to say, during the transition to Castle Age. I think maybe if Deniskya had like a second ram there and just focused on the cattle ranches, he could have done significantly more damage there. Or with Yumi archers, just ignore your opponent's archers. Your Yumi archers are quite fast. Just look for villagers with the main army and just try and get as many villager kills in as possible. There weren't really a lot of answers to rams there. There weren't that many sofas. So I think just that in combination with trying to take down the cattle could have done significantly more damage. I think Deniskya, he just got too hung up on trying to actually kill the army from the Malians. But typically, Mali, they just remass so quickly. It doesn't really matter if you kill up the army, you need to kill the cattle.
The problem is that tower rush it snowballed from there, right? Because that just forced a lot of suboptimal reactions, and he felt the pressure on him, just knowing that Malians will snowball and take down most things. But Crackety, I see there on our little screen that we have a Rus versus China matchup for the next one. And that's going to be, I think, a very interesting thing to play against, especially on a map like Caramel, where things tend to get a little spicy when your resources are so open to raiding. We saw both of these players having a little bit of a weakness there in terms of, am I susceptible to raids? How susceptible am I? Am I susceptible to overcommitments? And maybe that Carmel is the map for that, especially with China, Rus. Now, Rus is a civilization that does pretty well on Carmel, but at the same time, China doesn't mind either. Pro scouts coming out at the speed of light. I mean, this is probably just going to be a battle of who gets the most deer.
Yeah, on this map especially, like China and Rus, they're typically mostly favored, not just because of all the deer that are out there, because there are a lot, and you are going to want to get them up with the Pro Scout, just too many to ignore. But most importantly, you only have like small golds around your base. There's only one large gold vein in the middle of the map. So these two civilizations that are able to generate a lot of passive gold through hunting cabins, through the high trade house, through the taxes, that is where they can flourish. And Whammon, it's about time that we are going into our second game. And it is a best of 3, so this is the match point now for JIF Music. And we'll be diving right in to game number 2 between Deniskya and JIF Music here on Carmel, Chinese up against Rus.
Now, we are not expecting any crazy shenanigans this early in the game. Both of these civilizations love having their standard starts. So, double hunting cabin coming on out. And Crackety, yesterday I actually asked Beastie, what is this matchup like? Does Rus beat China or the other way around? Because obviously at my rank, we don't know the real answers to these. But I was very surprised to hear that Rus actually does pretty well against them. Has this been your experience as well? Or how do you favor this matchup?
Honestly, I think for the most part, it is, in my opinion, in my experience, pretty even between the two civilizations. I want to say Rus has a pretty strong timing advantage for like the first 25 minutes, just because it will take, like, even with the crazy amount of deer on this map, eventually you're gonna have to move out on the map or you're gonna have to do a farm transition. It's just that the farm transition is gonna come in at like 25 minutes for China. For Rus, that's going to be more like 30 minutes, 35 minutes, just because they have all of that passive income from the high trade house, all of these deer that are getting spawned there for free. China, though, they also just manage to scale better after that if they are able to get to Song Dynasty at a good enough timing, if they're able to get some walls up on this map, which can be difficult just because of its open nature. But if you're able to get some walls up and if you're able to just make the right units, take the right kinds of fights here, it is a tough one. It is a tough one either way. I think Rus, they definitely got the tempo advantage, but if you're able to just hold out, I think China, after 30 minutes, which is a very long time, but after 30 minutes, Whammon, I think China can do it. Before that, yeah, definitely an advantage for Rus, I want to say.
Now, I do think that also depends on these openings, though. And JIF going for that second scout, it definitely sets the pace for the game, because that's just one load of sheep that arrived here now. We see the second load about to arrive. 27 sheep. Now, Crackety,
That's insane.
You said they would need to move out on the map. I feel like Rus might have that problem a little bit more than China, because we can see he has almost no sheep. And this is actually pretty wild to see it. China going for 2 scouts. We usually see this now and again, but knowing that your whole point is to deny your opponent from food, it's such a power move. And honestly, JIF has now just set the pace for the game, because most of the time when we see Rus, we know that Rus is going to be snacking on a lot of sheep, but JIF Music knows that too, and he said, nah brah, not today. Gets both optimal routes for scouting, and definitely gets out ahead here. So this is going to mean, I think, that Deniskya is just not going to have that usual pump that we do see from the Rus at this stage of the game.
I'm not too sure about that, mainly because sheep, they're not the most important resource early on for the Rus, especially in this map, as you do start off with a small deer camp right next to your base. That's already 1,000 food right there. Yeah. But what I do think, the big difference here that this makes at the end of the day will be that I talked about earlier how Rus, they got to do their farm transition like 35 minutes into the game, and China's got to do it like 25 minutes into the game. Now I think it's going to be a lot more even, if not even a little bit China favored, just because like 27 sheep, 5,400 food, that's a pretty solid amount to have here, especially since it's not just you gaining sheep, it's also just taking them away from your opponent. So that's a pretty big delta difference there now between the available food resource there. You still want to ultimately get to the deer as quickly as possible, just because deer are just a tremendously better food source there. You're not just gathering like a baseline, I want to say like 20-25% faster, but with survival techniques boosted up to like 40-45%, and it's just much higher value resource for you early on.
And you can see JIF is already ahead of this, making sure that he goes and kills every single deer on his opponent's side of the map. He's like, if you want these, I'm going to do exactly what I did to the sheep. I'm going to make your life a lot harder. Goes and kills as many as he can, which means he's going to need to go and manually right-click every single group there and make sure that he doesn't make mistakes alongside it. Now, we do see the 5th scout already being built, so pro scouts coming in hot. And we'll see if JIF Music also invests in a little bit more to get that up and running. But it doesn't feel like he's going for anything like that, Crackety. It looks like we're getting Fast Castle from China. And that was not on my caramel bingo card. Is it? No, never mind. Song Dynasty. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. Barbican, though, interesting choice here.
Yeah, very interesting.
That was, again, not on my bingo card at all, because usually with Song Dynasty, we see it, but a little bit later into the game, because a lot of the time it's all about just denying as many deer as possible, and getting ahead a villager or two in the early game usually doesn't feel worth giving up all that food.
It's not just a couple of villagers, though, because typically we can compare it to the French bonus, but the Chinese bonus is just immediately so much stronger there. Instead of one villager every 20 seconds, you get a villager out every 15 seconds, so the villager benefit is actually a lot quicker. Basically every minute you're getting an additional villager in, and that means in 5 minutes it's going to be 5 villagers, in 6 minutes 6, 7, and so on and so forth. It can ramp up quite drastically, but not having access to the deer here, I mean, I like the amount of sheep that JIF Music has been able to find. I'm just wondering what he's gonna do with it, because Deniskya, behind this, his castle age is gonna be on the menu fairly soon. Like, he's getting there very rapidly. JIF Music kind of delayed himself a little bit here now with this Song Dynasty play and didn't go for his own pro scout at all, and with only 2 scouts, he is not going to be able to deny the pro scout pretty much at all.
It definitely looks like he's trying, but every little bit of micro he does is just negated by the fact that Deniskya is so comfortable with this. As you can see now, he's ready to click this up. Just a little bit more gold needs to trickle in, but these boys are really happy to bring the deer back home. It does feel like, you know, those little dogs that usually try to bite your ankles? That's what these scouts are doing right now. And you do want to walk after and be like, hey, get off my feet. But no, unfortunately, they do get distracted, but there's enough food under the TC at least to keep him going. High trade house now being built. We're going to be seeing how nice that one is going to look. But I would love to see what JIF goes for in Castle. What answer does he have in Castle with the food that is a ticking time bomb? Or could we potentially see a Pro Scouts in Castle?
I mean, could be. He's now going for the astronomical clock tower. Honestly, I think that's not the wisest choice, mainly because of the way this map is laid out. It is a very, very open map. You're very susceptible to raids, potentially. So just having access to the Imperial Palace and being able to know where your opponent is at any one point in time around your base, where the raids are coming from, it just gives you a lot more ability to answer the attacks from your opponent. And now Deniskya actually able to reach the age up first, even though JIF Music did not go for the Pro Scouts, did go for the Song Dynasty instead. I'm not sure how he feels about his position now at the moment. He is starting to gather up a lot of wood. We don't have a production building yet. We'll be getting one in shortly. Question is, which one is it gonna be? Because like he's about to be under attack from the Cav Archers, and yeah, it is going to be a stable. Well, I mean, there's just some units in the game where I think we can all agree on there is a counter on paper. In practice, it's not countering as much as it should.
Yes. And I completely experienced this yesterday as well in a few of my ranked games because I've been pumping out Roost nonstop. When people get their horseman army to try and counter me, it feels so good when you get to outkite them. And that's exactly what we get served here today. Horsemen against horse archers. Now, like you said, on paper, it sounds great. The problem is just horsemen are 100 food per one. And you need a lot of them to actually deal with a big army of horse archers. I just don't feel like he has, and even though he has a ton of sheep there, it just doesn't feel like it matches up 1-to-1. Now he's getting his blacksmith as well, but behind this guy is just pro scouting. He's living his best life. He's bringing food nonstop. He's not even thinking about running out of food. He's just going to make a ton of horse archers. And JIF Music is going to be in a little bit of danger when that does start to happen. Now, the Barbican with the Song Dynasty and everything, this is great, right? But with those horse archers, if he does start to get on those exposed little villages, he's going to have a very tough time. Now, China does have this beautiful ability of staying in their base for quite a while, but there are some openings where these horse archers will flourish. But we do see those numbers increasing now. The thing is just, again, those sheep, they are decreasing just as fast.
Yeah, very rapidly. JIF Music is going to find himself without any more sheep underneath his mill. Does still have a couple of deer there, as Observer shows, also the berries. But after that, he's going to have to move out onto the map or get pro scouts in. And I mean, as he said, Deniskya, he's been happily pro scouting behind this the entire time with 5 scouts. That's a lot of food income there for him. JIF Music at the moment, he does have double Pierce Armor Blacksmith upgrades. Deniskya does not have any of those yet. And so we might see an engagement that could actually start off quite favorable here. For JIF Music, Deniskya is going to have to back off for the time being. We did manage to at least get a nice little buff recently with the Horsemen, where they do now actually attack significantly faster. So actually a good amount of Horse Archers are going to go down here. Deniskya not having that crucial mass here, that critical mass in order to start really doing significant damage to these Horsemen. Doesn't have any Pierce Armor upgrades right now as well. And yeah, JIF Music, he's just diving past. He's diving past the TC. He just wants to get as many of these Cav Archers down as possible. Maybe even kill some villagers. But honestly, now he's a little bit overstepping his boundaries here. And yeah, Deniskya, he's just going to shut these couple remaining Horsemen down now.
It was a pretty good pickup by just running into the horse archers, picking off a few, but now losing all of your horsemen when we can take a look at those sheep again. And ladies and gentlemen, you asked me what sheep exactly. So now all of those horsemen, they are not replaceable. Like Deniskya can just replace those horse archers. And yes, he wasn't able to get that critical mass there, but he's like, oh yeah, I should probably be careful about these bad boys. And he's just going to be able to remax them from here on out. So JIF Music now, he does get Jugunu upgrades. So are we going to be seeing a proper Jugunu switch here? It just doesn't feel like he has the income to sustain these for too long, but that's a lot of horsemen still.
Zhuganu honestly are quite great up against the cavalry archers. They're actually a good bit better than normal archers up against them. Just because archers, they don't do any bonus damage, neither do Zhuganu, but they just deal great with any unarmored units baseline. So those are definitely going to be fights that the Zhuganu will want to take. However, the issue behind that is, Whammon, the Zhuganu, they're just the complete opposite of the Cav Archers. While the Cav Archer is incredibly mobile, the Zhuganu, he's 1.12 tiles per second. He does not want to run.
And you can see what Deniskya is getting behind this. There's a little upgrade coming on in, and I believe those are going to be knights. And with the Zhuganu switch, those knights are going to love their lives just getting on top of them. Now, with the horseman again, he's diving a little bit deep to try and get a few of these horse archers. So again, a very expensive dive. Every single time you take a little bit of damage, this is going to start adding up. He does try to get a villager or two as well, but these guys are barely poking, and now them taking a bunch more fire from the arrows. This is going to be so hard to replace. Again, overstepping a bit, not getting a single villager going down, actually. So he does get one Veil kill, and that's pretty great, considering you are China, you're already ahead with your Veils. But the problem is your food is out, and 650? That feels very little when you're trying to amass an army right now.
Exactly. Luckily, at least, Zhuganu are not that food expensive, so JIF Music, he's going to be able to get quite a few of them out, but Knights are starting to ramp up now as well, and the most important upgrade is coming in here behind all of this. We are getting Boya's Fortitude, not just for the Knights, not just for the Scouts, not just for the Warrior Monks, but most importantly, the Cav Archers as well. Plus 25 health on each and every single one of them. Means that they are going to be significantly more tanky. A very tanky backline now for Deniskya. And it is 14 minutes into the game, Whammon. And we're just now seeing Pro Scouts getting clicked for JIF Music. Honestly, most of the deer are already gone. There are some left here and there. He is starting to get an outpost up actually on one of his deer camps just in order to protect that for a little while longer. Zhuganu now also coming in order to support. Does only have Pierce Damage 1 upgrade at this point in time. So, yeah, they're not going to do too much damage up against the Knights. Actually, I want to say about Deniskya, he doesn't have any Pierce armor upgrades. So at the moment, Zhuganu probably are going to get their best fight. They're not going on the Knight, though. They're immediately trying to focus fire in on the Cav Archers. Kind of a shame when the Knights at the moment actually do more damage, and because of the missing armor upgrades, would actually be an easier pickup for him.
Now, he is just trying to get some of these units to back off, but with that, Nest of Bees, it does help him out. Now, those two towers on the boar is definitely going to make it a lot easier to be out here and get some food. But like you said, it protects that deer pack as well, and he should be able to go and pick up a few of these deer. Now, the problem is, though, he only has 3 scouts, and this is going to be a very, very slow trickle for him. And the problem is, with 9 knights on the field, 2 little towers are not going to be defending him for too long. The boar, though, looking juicy as always. These guys are going to have a really good time just getting a little bit of food back to the base. Now, the problem is just look at all those knights. They, like I said correctly, these guys don't care. And they're just going to charge right on top, which is going to mean idle time, deaths, and despair.
4 villagers just dying pretty much instantly here. JIF Music still has a good villager lead, but it just got shrunken down significantly. Double Springle replacement coming in, but a lot of the outposts already gotten weaker now because of those knights torching them down. Yeah, Deniskya, for the time being, he is going to retreat, but double the army value. Honestly, at this point in time, he can just full send it. Scouts coming in as well, and they're going to be a very, very effective meat shield thanks to Boya's Fortitude as well. Just having a couple of scouts there at your front line, just tank up a couple of shots, soak up a couple of Springle emplacement hits here and there, and just overall, you're going to be able to just have your military units alive for so much longer due to that very cheap and effective meat shield. Farms coming in now as well. Whammon, this is typically the moment where you see China just fall over and die in that farm transition.
And the problem is, this is a very early farm transition. Like you said, this is something that's supposed to happen around 25 minutes, but right now, it has to happen. There's no food, but these Zhuganu are barely doing anything with the knights around now coming as well. Those Nest of Bees are going to go down, but they do get a pretty good shot off on the horse archers. The problem is just, it's just a pretty good shot. It's not a lot of shots, and that's going to mean that Deniskya is going to be able to clean these up. He says, I've had enough. Let's go to the next game. 1-1 now. And honestly, this is what I meant about today. We are not going to get a bunch of 2-0s. And I'm so happy to see that. Because for once, There are no walkovers. You have to earn your win to get through.
Yeah, honestly, like looking at this game, I was quite surprised with JIF Music's overall like choices here in this game. The early song Dynasty, the lack of pro scouts, and overall, I mean, the game started off great, Whammon. Just that double scout opening, getting so many sheep away from your opponent. But I think that was the point where JIF Music just got a little bit too greedy. It is always very difficult to judge if maybe you got a window, you got so many more sheep. Surely sheep are just as effective with you having your Imperial Official, right? Compared to the deer, but it's a little bit of a bait there as well, because the Roos, they're not just like an empty civilization, they're not just a standard civilization, they do still have that bounty, which does increase the food gather speed for their villagers as well. So it's not just like one-to-one, and just so many deer means that the bonus sheep get completely offset there in the end, and yeah, it's just a much more effective food resource here. And look at that. Looks like we are getting one of those rare water map occurrences here coming in. Next one is going to be Archipelago, but HRE against Order of the Dragon might as well be somewhat of a mirror match, some might say. But Order of the Dragon just, I want to say, feel a lot more solid on water just because they're not restricted to that Archon Chapel influence with their villagers.
This feels so good to see. Finally, Order of the Dragon having a map where they can flourish. But HRE is a very comfortable water civilization, I would say as well. I don't know how this will look in terms of getting these two to fight it out on water, because we know water maps are chaotic. You look away for 1 second, and all of a sudden, all your ships are dead. So I think this is going to come down to, hey, who has the better micro on water? Because both of these players, they're going to have a pretty even matchup here, and it's just going to be about who can control these the best. Look at that last fight, Crackety. Oh, that is the saddest moment, like I said, as China, where you just see everything falling apart with your farms slowly being built. But luckily, when you have so much sheep on a map, oh, not sheep, so much fish on a map, you're going to be a happy camper, as long as your opponent allows you to stay on that water. Now, what I wanted to look at here is quickly, also, we have 7 seconds, but the bans, KT, no more today. Thank goodness. Rest in peace.
Yeah, definitely the prior ban there when there is a water map involved, and now we will be jumping into our match point game. JIF Music versus Deniskya, best of 3. So this game is going to count. We're here on Archipelago, and look at that, Whammon. Both players spawning right next to each other on their small little islands.
That is a pretty standard spawn from what I see. Is it what it used to be, where you spawn opposite sometimes, right? Or is it now fixed that you start next to one another?
I'm actually not 100% sure. Like, sometimes I think you still spawn opposite, sometimes you still spawn next to each other.
Because recently, this has been the
There were
spawn.
changes.
Now, if you are a betting man, would you feel like HRE has an advantage over War of the Dragon? Or do you think they actually are pretty even in this case?
Honestly, I want to say that they're mostly even for the early part. I want to say HRE is just a little bit ahead early on in the game, but the longer the game goes, the better it gets for Order of the Dragon, just because of that just better economy, like outside of the range of the Archon Chapel. JIF Music, he's gonna have to be really, really on point in this game when it comes to microing his prelates, making additional prelates once he gets up to Castle Age with the Regnitz Cathedral, or maybe even in Feudal Age, just adding 1 or 2 prelates, because one prelate is going to be able to buff up 9 villagers at a time. Archon Chapel is only good in a small radius, and just looking at this map here, actually, there is no great Archon Chapel spawn here for him, so he's gonna potentially very early on have to look into actually using prelates instead of the Archon Chapel for gathering resources.
Oh, definitely. And I think getting that second prelate, it slows you down for that second, because you do have to invest quite a bit into it. It slows down your age up as well, depending on where you're at. But the problem now, I think, for Deniskya, he just starts out with that extra 100 gold, so he can quickly ramp up if he wanted to get up a little bit faster too. So I feel like with HRE's early game, you having that prelate, you can get out a little bit more of the fishing ships before that time starts to trickle. But I do see a few red dots going to gold, over to gold already. So it does look like the red dots, Mr. JIF is going to be going for his gold already. Now, Mr. Observer, could we look at the villager split? I would love to see how many villagers we have on the resources there to see when they decide to move them over. Okay, so this guy, because he starts up with a bit more, he doesn't need to rush as much, but we'll see what that looks like pretty soon as the time starts to ramp up. So Crackety, now, with HRE, do they hit feudal before Order of the Dragon on water usually, especially with double dock on both sides?
With the buffs that we saw recently to Order of the Dragon, where the villagers they usually build them a little bit slower, but that got buffed up. So now the Order of the Dragon villagers come out a little bit earlier, and the Order of the Dragon villagers actually do build faster. So I think it should still be relatively even between the two, just because HRE, of course, they do have that battery economy early on, just able to get a more steady flow of fishing ships out overall.
Okay.
It's tough to say. Like, sometimes it just comes down to macro at the end of the day. I think in perfect macro, it should be just about similar, if not a little bit favorable for HRE.
Okay. Well, we'll see now what the follow-up of the ships is going to be, because we do see that Deniskya is actually investing a little bit more on wood here. And like we said before, when you have those Order of the Dragon villages, they are worth a little bit more on that. And getting all of that wood income is going to be nice and juicy. But we'll see if that also translates into an extra dock. Yesterday, when I was watching some of the games, I realized if you can shut down that third dock, it feels like it snowballs so quickly out of control here. But now we do see the Arcane being rushed up with 8 villagers, actually, on that very juicy wood line. So that is going to be a bunch of inspired villagers for quite a while.
And Deniskya, he doesn't quite have the gold yet. Food also not quite there yet. Looks like he might have just invested a little bit more here in the fishing early on compared to JIF Music. Can we actually take a quick look at the fishing count overall between these two players? So looking at Deniskya, he does have 10 fishing ships total. JIF Music on his side is we got 5 over here and 9 at the moment. So only a slight lead, but there is also a third dock coming in for Deniskya, and he is now going to be able to age up. So it looks like HRE is going to get a nice little lead there, opening up us now with the Minework Palace here, interestingly enough. Now, there used to be a meta on water where getting early blacksmith upgrades on water was actually important, when like the archer ships, they would be able to hit more reliably, and just in general, like scaling with pierce damage was a lot better for the archer ships. Nowadays it's not that strong, and we do have like fully set encounters at this point in time. Used to be that like many not fishing ships, but archer ships could take down hulks. In the current meta, that's not really the case, or at least not nearly as efficiently as back in the day. But yeah, H-Up's now going to be coming in from Deniskya as well. Right now, only an archer ship in queue for JIF Music, though. Let's see if he's going to be able to do much damage. But a 4th dock already coming out for Deniskya, so he's going to be very well set when it comes to holding water. I think at the moment, JIF, he's still only on 2 docks.
The problem is, with 4 docks, he just doesn't have the wood income to sustain constant military ship production from all 4 of these. And now, JIF Music, he has arrived and trying to shut down those fishing ships, he says, instead. I thought he was going to attack the villager, but it does look like he gets one, and he stops and interrupts so well with that little galley. And this guy also he has 1 military ship in queue, but this is going to idle that economy quite a bit. We'll see now if that wood eco is going to start talking for Order of the Dragon, because 800 versus 400, it never looks good on water.
Yeah, there appears to be a slight discrepancy, but that's just the HRE at the moment with their Archon Chapel right next to that wood line. Means that at the moment, this timing is where HRE is a lot stronger than Order of the Dragon. I think that's one of the reasons why Deniskya went for that 4th dock here, just to be able to spread out his fishing economy and be able to, if need be, because there might be a situation where you get pushed back completely on water and you don't have any ships, being able to get a complete ship army composition out in one production pull can be very important when it comes to trying to go for a comeback in these situations. But JIF, he's already got a ton of ships out here now, and yeah, I mean, it's getting kind of tough for Deniskya now, being like trying to match the numbers. 1,000 wood at the moment, Whammon, for JIF. That's insane.
That's HRE, ladies and gentlemen. If you are someone who wants to try out water, go get yourself an unlimited economy with HRE. Now, Deniskya, he can probably try to maneuver this at the start, but this feels so difficult. We see an extra little bit of galley investment from JIF as well, which I absolutely love because galleys are just the thing that stops that snowball when the demolition ships get a little bit close. Well, on the other side, Deniskya, he is getting as many springholes as he can because he realizes this might be important here. Only one galley to try and shut down 2 demos. Now, the problem with those demos, and now a third going to be coming in too, is when they come from different directions, one little galley is not going to be able to hold them back, and it can be quite catastrophic. But it looks like we're going to be getting our first big fight.
Oh, this is where it becomes so important, the micro on those demos. Looks like JIF Music, he uses all of his demos on 3 fishing ships at the moment, so just going to get a little bit of a better economy here behind this. But honestly, Deniskya, he is not too far off when it comes to the village count. Do gotta take into account that the Out of the Dragon villagers, they just take a little bit longer to produce here. But other than that, Deniskya at the moment is able to at least match the military count on water when it comes to the Springle ships for the most part.
Now, another demo ship. Getting a half hit in there feels pretty okay, but definitely not what Deniskya wants to be sacrificing right now. We do see that those fishing ships being idled as well. This 4th dock going down, but he needs to be careful with this one push. It does look like he wants to fight back on this, and it does get shut down.
More demo ships still out there, but 2 archer ships are going to be enough. Not enough micro coming in here. It does get a halfway connection there. Man Sails was already used by JIF Music, so he does not have the option at the moment to speed up his Springle ships. And yeah, at the moment just needs to fall back more and more as there are still demo ships out there. Behind that, Springle ships could get some great hits on the archer ships behind that. Is able to pick off 1. Not enough pickoffs there, though, I want to say, as there are still enough archer ships at the moment to take down all the demo ships. Demos are diving, the Springle ships are diving deep now for Deniskya, but there are just more from JIF, and yeah, behind this Deniskya, he's just falling further and further behind now. Doesn't have great food income anymore at all, pretty much. Like, he's actually on water, and he's just doesn't have enough food to produce ships.
JIF Music looks like he is comfortable in this position as well. We see 160 food per minute from this guy. You know that this is just stopping that ship production as well. These guys trying to do their best, but there's only 3 against the whole army of ships. Now, there should be a pretty decent shot here.
Oh, he didn't. No. Oh, no. JIF somehow pushed 1 ship in there and lost 1, but that could have been such a good connection. Could have taken out 3, maybe even 4 Springle ships, but now all of his military is gone. Deniskya, nothing left in the tank. All he's pumping out now is going to be more and more demo ships, but the economy, it's been completely destabilized. He had to set villagers back onto sheep in order to get any ships out now, but at this point in time, it's just not enough in order to rebalance your economy, and there's just no way into Castle Age. There's no way to come back on water now at this point in time for him. And it's just getting beyond repair at this point in time. More docks going down. JIF Music just being unrelenting when it comes to the aggression here on these docks. And yeah, it's just at this point in time, 8 fishing ships down now as well. And there we go. GG is going to get called, meaning that JIF Music is going to be able to push into the next set where potentially in a little bit he might have to face off up against Demu.
Now that's a pretty big match to go up against the favorite to qualify from his side as well. But this man, he showed us he can do a little bit of water in this as well. So we'll see how this plays out. But you can see from that military value lead, once the ships kept coming, there was just no coming back. And you can see that economy also flatlining the moment the fishing eco got shut down, with HRE just being a little bit safer in terms of getting a nice little chapel and getting your whole control of the map. But look at that perfect block at the start, just as we're seeing here from the replay. Just those small little maneuvers make the world of a difference.